welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, lots of video games today, and more. I'm Daniel, and today the co-host for this year's Keeley E3, Key 3, non-E3, whatever it is, the Microsoft Showcase, let's call it what it is Bobby as the co-host. Thanks for being on, Bobby.
Of course, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Glad to be talking some video games. All the rest of the news that we got this week.
And originally, Maceo was supposed to be on as a third, but unfortunately, he had some internet problems. But I do hope that we are able to provide a strong show for him and for all of you. Typically, he is on every E3 each year, and I think you were on last year, right?
Yeah.
There we go. So in a way, the tradition continues because we do have Bobby here in the co-host chair. But if this is your very first podcast or very first episode for this show, the way we format it is most of the episode is going to be news, a lot of, once again, summer of games this week. And then we end it with the Broket block, which is what Bobby and I have been doing since you last heard us, the more personal side of the podcast where you get to know Bobby and I a little bit better. So let's jump right in and explore sector number 513. So this was unexpected news for me. I did not know Funko had money to burn, but the company behind the Funko Pops that you see all over the place, including 7-Eleven, is buying, they announced they are purchasing Mondo. They produce high-end pop culture collectibles, the posters, vinyls. I bought the Batman the Animated Series, Batman-shaped vinyl a couple of years ago. But this kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it, Bobby?
Yeah, definitely wouldn't have expected that. With little competition that Funko has, since they have their hands all over everything, it doesn't surprise me.
Why do you think they went with Mondo, though? Because they are pretty much doing really well on their own. So to purchase a high-end collectibles company, to me, I don't know. Like, I know Mondo does well on their own, but what could Funko possibly hope to get out of this deal?
Well, this could be Funko pretty much stretching their arms and getting away from, like, let's look at the reality of it. A lot of their stuff that they have when it comes to collectibles is just plastic. Just plastic with if it's a bobblehead or whatever. Very simple. And that's why Funkos are so cheap. You know, when you go to the store and you're only, $9 or whatever. So then picking up Mondo, now they have the ability to put out higher quality product that is even more desirable and collectible beyond just the grocery store reaching, mommy, let me get that. It's cheap. Or I like Garfield, or I like Rick and Morty, whatever they're saying. So now they can branch out, still keep the IPs, and have nicer collectibles for the people that collect, that spend a lot more money.
Well, that's the thing Funko definitely did not have before. As you said, they have a lot of quick to churn products. They put out a line of Funko Pops that are based on movies or games, and then they try to sell them as quickly as possible because they're popular one week and then the next week they're not. And yeah, some of them do get collectible over time, and I've certainly flipped my number of Funko Pops on eBay, especially recently. But Mondo is known for more limited products. These are items that are up for 24 hours, sometimes less, and already sold out. These are products that they're done by Alamo Drafthouse, which I didn't know about, but these are limited to like 200 pieces, sometimes less. And you see them definitely, because of that, they are very sought after by collectors. And maybe that's what Funko's going for. Maybe they're going for the end of the market that sees these as higher end, whereas a lot of these collectors don't see Funkos as the thing they want to collect. They're more into the posters, the pieces of artwork. And I don't think Funko, you could consider it, but I wouldn't put it on the same pedestal as Mondo personally.
No, and I mean, like, Funko focuses on the here and now, right? And Mondo does too, technically. Funko focuses on the here and now with, pop culture, what's going on, TVs, movies, all that stuff that's going on, and it's cheaper product. Well, you got Mondo, their product is a little bit more pricey. It's also limited. And, like you said, you got something from them. And they tend to be short sales with short number runs. Well, why that's important is because Funko kind of deals in that matter when it comes to some of their Funkos that are designer made or draft versions. And some of those things sell for thousands of dollars, and there's not that many out there. And you go to like the big cons like San Diego Comic-Con, they do these Funko private parties. And if you happen to be part of that party, you get special access to some Funkos that are only exclusive to that event. Like 1 in 100 or 1 in 50, very low print runs. And they're highly desirable by collectors because they're very low in existence. So they just hold that collector value. So if you take that premise and expand it to the Mondo brand that has things that are a little more expensive beyond just a piece of plastic, now you're getting into the higher collectible range when you're looking at like comparable to like comic books or serial numbered items, things like that. So it kind of makes sense.
We do have a quote here from Andrew Perlmutter, who is the chief executive officer. In a press release, he said, quote, Mondo's devoted fan base and high-end pop culture collectibles make it the perfect complement to Funko's current portfolio of brands. By leveraging our international distribution and licensing network, we feel well-positioned to expedite the growth of the Mondo brand, end quote. So I've got one more question before we move on to some movie news here. If you were, maybe you are, but if you were definitely a deeper collector of Mondo, would you be worried at this acquisition from Funko as maybe watering down the Mondo brand? Do you think that worry is there for those collectors?
Yes. If I was a specific Mondo shopper, let's say I just, monitor their stuff regularly and bought from them, I would be worried because I see how fast Funko turns their stuff and it's all essentially cheap stuff. But, we don't know. Maybe this is a strengthening. Maybe they're going to combine with the ability that Funko has with their IPs. I mean, they have their hands in everything. What if Mondo didn't have access to some of these IPs? Well, now they will because of Funko. What if we get some collaborative projects with specifically serial numbered and low print run with the Funko type brand? I mean, I think that's cool. That's gangbusters. That's a lot of money. Collectors are going to be all over it. Should I be worried about it? I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it seems cool on the face of it.
So now, in addition to like the special art posters, you're going to see Funko versions of those same posters put up, I bet. I'm calling it. They're going to do Funko posters of movies and shit like that. It's going to happen for sure. We do have some Jurassic World possible crossover news here, as the Wanda Wise, who portrays Kayla Watts in Jurassic World Dominion, recently told that hashtag show that she would like to cross paths with the Fast and Furious franchise. She said, quote, it's Universal, so it would have to be the Fast and the Furious. What else can they do? They've already been to space, end quote. And in the past, both Fast 9 director Justin Lin and the current director of Dominion, Colin Trevorrow, and he did direct the last couple of Jurassic Worlds as well, have touched on this possibility in the past, saying never say never, it's possible, let's see what the fans think. I fucking want to see it, man. I'm a fan of giant dinos, and I'm a fan of the Fast and Furious. That would, I think, elevate Fast 11, 12, whatever it may be, to the next level.
Yeah, why not rope in Back to the Future so they can go back to the dinosaurs?
Yeah, is that owned by Universal too?
Yep.
Or they can go so fast. Dom would go so fast that he would hit that 88 mile per hour mark or something, and electricity would strike him, and you could see it happening. They could really write it into the Fast universe of, okay, the Fast movies all took place before Jurassic World, the second one, where they, ended up all over the world. And then you get a post-credit scene of, oh, we just got news that the dinosaurs escaped Jurassic World, and that's how you confirm that they're all in the same fucking universe.
And then it all wraps up in Springfield.
And why do you say Springfield?
The Simpsons.
Oh, so you're going big. You're going like Ready Player One type crossovers.
Yeah, if they're going to wrap all their properties in there, do it right. Go. If they're going to go crazy, then do it right. I mean, the other part is Justin Lin's not on the projects anymore, so
yeah, that's the one thing. Justin Lin would have said this, I'm assuming, before the breakup that he had, unfortunately, due to Vin Diesel. Some people were saying they should cargo dinosaurs, like that's the big thing. That's the big plot. They need to get dinosaur A to point B, and they have to do it as quickly as possible because the bad guys are trying to get them. But we need a team that's fast and furious, and that's when they call Dom and his fucking crew. Would you watch that film? I mean, it's got to happen. I mean, to call that ridiculous at this point in the Fast and Furious, like, we know what we're getting.
We all would watch it, of course. It'd be ridiculous, but we all would watch it.
We have some DC news as well, as on a podcast with Jeff Goldsmith, the Midman director, Matt Reeves, spoke about turning down directing Ben Affleck's Batman script. He said, quote, "The movie was originally going to be directed by Ben Affleck, and the script they sent me had been written by Ben, but rewritten by another very talented writer. And when I read it, I was like, oh, I get it.
Really?
It was a standalone Batman film that was centered on Ben's version of the character, but it was more action-driven than what I felt I could do. I didn't connect to the movie in terms of me as a filmmaker. It was very James Bondian. It was filled with a lot of set pieces. It could have been a very exciting movie for someone else to do it, but it wasn't for me to do," end quote. So you, Bobby, have seen The Midman. Is his movie not as action-driven as what it sounds like Ben Affleck's would have been?
There's not a lot of action in that movie. There's like 3 action scenes total. The rest of it's just them whispering throughout the whole movie. So
Him pouting?
yeah, him pouting with his eye makeup running down his face. Yeah, there's not a lot of action in that film. It's not boring, but it's just, there's a lot of detective type scenes, and obviously there's a lot of different characters that they introduce into this film. So like there's an action scene in the beginning, like as the movie opens, and then there's another action scene kind of in the middle. You got the car chase scene, and then you got there's like a fight near the end. There's really not much compared to Ben that he's saying. Maybe there was a lot more, and that would have been cool. I would like to see an Arkham, video game style movie with just lots of action. Maybe a lot of people wouldn't. Maybe that's the problem. Who knows?
And I am kind of glad that we're in this timeline where Matt Reeves did not direct that Batman film, because that would have been it. I don't think we would have gotten another shot at #make the Batfleck movie directed by Ben Affleck. We don't want that Matt Reeves version. We want you guys to redo it, but have Ben Affleck. Now there's a better shot of that. Like, okay, well, let's get Ben in. He wants the solo Batman film. Let's make his universe's Batman. He'll direct it. He co-wrote it and do the film that he wants to do, as opposed to if you bring in someone like Matt Reeves, there's going to be a director's thumbprint on the thing. He's going to make changes.
Why'd that initially get changed? Was it WB's decision?
The whole Batman, him not wanting to direct the film?
No, I remember when Ben had the script and he said, he publicly announced, "I'm directing and I wrote it." And then all the changes started happening and he got pissed and, said, "I'm out." Was that WB stepping in, or was that more of WB pushing Ben aside and saying, like, "We have a director, let him do it"?
That hasn't been made clear. The only thing that, if we're to believe all of these things, and I do believe it because Ben was going through some very rough waters at that time, right after Justice League. I think shortly after that, he went back into rehab again. But the whole thing is he had lost the drive and the magic to direct the Batman film, or even playing the Batman, after everything that the crew got put through with Justice League and Justice League. So that's when he was like, you know what, if someone else wants to direct it, I'll be there and I'll do the film. And then after that, from what I understand, Jeff Johns and Matt Reeves, or at least Jeff Johns, was trying to get Ben Affleck gone and out of there. And that's when, for whatever reason, whatever it was that happened, maybe Ben heard that he wasn't wanted there, and he's like, well, I don't even want to direct the thing anyway, so I'm out of the whole role. And that's when Jeff got his wish, and we got Pattinson movie that we ended up with, and now we don't have Ben Affleck's The Batman.
Talking about Walter Hamada, who I believe has been doing just a terrific job.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about Jeff Johns. He was in the middle of that. I forgot.
And I do think it's better, because how different would Ben's Batman movie be? Even let's say he directed it, but under that regime of Walter Hamada and Toby Emmerich, as opposed to now, we're still waiting to see who replaces Walter Hamada. That announcement has not been made, but if it's someone that's friendly to the cause, then they're going to give him the movie or the reins, the freedom that hopefully that he wants to make. And some more DC news, as some are saying this isn't what we want, some are very excited for it. The award-winning musician and star of House of Gucci, Lady Gaga, is joining the world of DC in Joker Folie deux. We covered the announcement of this sequel last week, but we had no casting news nor the feel of this movie. The Hollywood Reporter broke the news on Monday that Lady Gaga is in talks to star in this Joker sequel, but it also indicates, the report, that this film will be a musical, which is a departure from the first film. And they're saying that if Gaga does end up joining the film, she is supposedly going to be cast and will be playing Harley Quinn. So a lot of information there for Joker Part 2 here.
Yeah. I mean, rumors are going to run wild because she's multi-talented, obviously. She could join the movie and not have a singing role at all. It could just be like the other, what THR is saying, could be possibly Harley Quinn. I mean, it could also be his wife. Maybe they're going to explore that relationship before he broke and somebody else ends up playing Harley Quinn. Who knows?
So this being a musical, obviously very different than what they did in the first one. There are some points that are being made from people that want to see this film and from people that don't want to see this film. Currently, I was talking to Millennial Mike about it, and I'm still under boycott Warner Brothers. So although Walter's gone, Toby's gone, we're just kind of waiting to see what they do with the Snyderverse, and I think we'll all be on board after that once that announcement gets made. But for now, I'm not hyping up the movie. I'm not out there retweeting any information that is coming out. But I would say that doing something different from the first film, as opposed to redoing what they did in the first one and giving us an extension of what happens at the end of the first one, they are feeding us something different, which one could make the argument is a good thing. However, others clearly wanted more from what the first one gave us, which is a drama. There was no musical elements to the film. There was, of course, dancing to the soundtrack, but it's very different than a straight up musical, which is what it sounds like they're making here. So did you see the first Joker film?
Yeah, I've seen it.
So what do you feel about them going way different on this sequel and not giving us some more of the same with the first?
Well, I thought it should just be a one shot anyways. They shouldn't do any more. So if they're going to go a different direction with actually making a sequel, then sure, whatever. Also, we don't know. This is all speculation, so maybe it's not going to be a musical. I think the musical is just being sparked because Lady Gaga's involved. She's become a very good actor, and I didn't watch all of House of Gucci. I've seen parts of it. Did she even sing in that movie?
In House of Gucci, I don't remember her singing in that.
Yeah, so there's another, there's an example right there. It doesn't have to be a musical, and she can be attached to a film. I mean, I know she sung in that one movie with Bradley Cooper. Mm-hmm. And they did a song together on the soundtrack and whatnot. But that's completely different. So maybe that's what that speculation's coming from. I'd wait. Maybe we'll get some more info later, and she'll actually be cast, and we'll know what she's cast as, and then we'll get more info later.
How high did that fucking budget go? Where they're like, yeah, the first one made $1 billion. You can do your sequel. You can cast Lady Gaga, who's expensive as fuck, to have in your film. It must have tripled that fucking budget. The first one cost $55 million. It cost less than the goddamn Wonder Twins movie that got canceled. I want to know what the budget is for Joker 2.
And who wouldn't want to be attached to it? You got an award-winning director and award-winning actor that you're going to work with. So it's a duo right there. That's perfect.
And by them calling it Folie, deux, we covered last week that maybe it does lend some truth to that Willem Dafoe rumor of him wanting to play an imposter Joker in the Joker 2 sequel. So it sounds like he knows something about it based on the title. However, it could now be referring to Harley Quinn or a female Joker, whatever it is that Lady Gaga is playing, or even a completely different Joker. There might still be a second Joker plus Harley Quinn in this film. So we'll see a lot of that as we roll into next year. I think that's when we'll start seeing more information about this, and we'll probably get a teaser early next year if I had to guess.
We can hope.
Moving forward, we do have the Summer of Games coverage / PlayStation State of Play, whatever that was. So here we go with what is a remake of my favorite game of all time. After years of teasing and insider leaks, Capcom has officially revealed the worst kept secret of 2022 in gaming, the remake to Resident Evil 4.
If I could just forget what happened that night. The pain. Even for a second. This time, it can be different. It has to.
Ada Wong and Luis Serra they're visible in the trailer, and you get villains like Sadler, the iconic Sadler, coming back. And this one is set to release and launch on PC, Xbox Series X and S, and other consoles. one of the greatest games of all time, and it's getting a remake. What do you think, Bobby?
This was good news. I was glad to finally get some clarification and an actual trailer for it. I know a lot of people are excited about it, including yourself. I never actually played all of 4.
Wow.
I own it on the GameCube. I bought it on the GameCube, so I have the original version. And I know it's been remade. I'm sorry, not remade, re-released and remastered recently. I don't know. I just haven't gone back and played it. I need to. I will, because I don't want to play the remaster. I'm sorry, the remake without playing the original. So I will do that at some point. I think this is exciting. So getting another really good game back, because Resident Evil 2 and 3, when they were both remade, came out fantastic. So the fact that they're going back and remaking some of these classics is really good. Good for the vault, good for the fans. More game consumption for us.
Some people are hoping that the elements from that original Resident Evil 4 trailer, did you ever see that old one where before it was an action horror game, it was just straight horror with the moving dolls and the ghosts? Did you ever see that demo?
Yep.
So a lot of fans are like, hey, why don't you put some of those elements into this remake and mix them in there just to get some of like what could have been? Because it already looks pretty different than the GameCube version. And I'm not saying that it's a completely different game, but for example, someone like me who knows the game inside and out, I've beaten it so many times, I'm like, okay, that's different than the Village. This looks darker. This looks like almost nighttime constantly. Just that opening scene alone is already different in terms of atmosphere. So do you think we're going to get more horror elements compared to the action that we got in the original game?
Oh yeah, they're going to try to make it suspenseful. You know, some of that stuff that is really good with games that have capitalized on it, like Dead Space and, you know, coming soon, Callisto Protocol, which we'll get into later. You know, games like that have that kind of jumpy horror type stuff. People like that.
One of the downsides to this, for me as a fan, is they're not getting the original voice actor back as for Leon. And that was one that he went on Twitter and he's like, no, they didn't call me for this, but I wish the new person lots of luck. And I'm like, come on, man, the guy's still alive. Put him in there. Let's go. This is a fucking remake. Why are we recasting people?
Who knows? Money.
The same actor, even, I don't know if you know this, but when they put Leon Kennedy in the live action Resident Evil films, he auditioned for the role of Leon. And they said that he didn't sound enough like Leon, the character that they were going for. Something ironic as shit like that, where he's like, I literally play the character in the games. And that would have been amazing if they could have gotten him in live action also playing Leon, because he sort of could look like him. You just dress him up. He'd be just as good as the fucking actor they got in the actual movie. But I'm like, this guy can't catch a break. You can't get him back for the remake. You can't cast him in the live action Leon. What are we fucking doing? The guy's still alive. It's like when you don't cast Kevin Conroy in Batman. It's like, Kevin Conroy's still alive. He's not sick. He's healthy. Come on. Why isn't he Batman? Why isn't he Leon?
They're not sticking to the source material.
They really aren't. And we do have something that I thought was fun and something that has been a first for Xbox in the last couple of years. There's the news that I think it is your second favorite Marvel character right behind the Hulk, Spider-Man, is joining the Midnight Suns roster. Microsoft took to Twitter to boast about how Spider-Man is making his grand return to the Xbox, and I think this is great news. I like the Xbox, and I like the Midnight Suns. I'm happy that Spider-Man is joining that roster.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal. Spider-Man games have generally been on all different platforms, Nintendo included. Like, if you look at Ultimate Alliance 3, Spider-Man's on that roster, and that's on the Switch. It's actually on the Switch only, technically. It's not any other platform. So Spider-Man can be in other places. I think where there's an issue with Sony is when it's a game focused around Spider-Man. Like, obviously the Spider-Man game or the Miles Morales game, those are different because it's a solo game with that character only being featured. And yeah, that's cause for concern for Sony that owns that property. They don't want other companies messing with it. But if he's just a playable character on a roster, it's not going to matter too much. Just like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and 3, like that's all on Xbox. It's on their Game Pass right now. Or correct me if I'm wrong. I think 2 is or was at one point. I know I downloaded it, so I have it. But like 3 was on disc version, and I have that, and Spider-Man's on it. So it's like it's not unheard of. It's just he's a roster player. It's definitely going to come down to a solo or focused game that is not good for competition, of course.
Well, that news of the Midnight Suns did piss off Sony fanboys, Spider-Man maybe fanboys. I wouldn't say Spider-Man, but more Sony fanboys. And this next news bit, it got someone breaking their PlayStation 4 in half. Marvel's Spider-Man game is now slated to come to PC in August, with Miles Morales arriving later in the fall as well. So those without a PlayStation now have options for this. I think it is an award-winning game. You can now play it on your PC. And I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, but someone took their Sony PlayStation 4, 5, whatever it is, 5, I think, branded
It was a 4.
PlayStation. They were pissed off and they sawed that motherfucker in half. That's how these fucking fanboys, man. We're in 2022 and that fervor is still there. And I was fucking laughing my ass off. I'm like, go cope, man. It doesn't affect your fucking games, but they're mad that it exists on another platform. It's really fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and he didn't even wear goggles. That's how much of an idiot it is. But
well, he owns a PlayStation. What do you think?
yeah, we knew these games were going to come to PC. Sony's been slowly migrating their games onto PC, and for good reason. They've made a ton of money. The first game they did it with, I believe it was Last of Us, and then they did it with Horizon Zero Dawn, and then Days Gone was another one. And I think we're awaiting. Well, this was the next one we were waiting for. It was Marvel. I say we. I don't care. Marvel's Spider-Man was supposed to be, and then Miles Morales. So we understood that it was going to happen. We just didn't know when. But data has shown that the games the Sony exclusives that they've moved over to PC and made playable have done extremely well. So Sony's making a ton of money off of it. So good move for them. But yeah, the fanboys, they just don't like it.
It's a great move too for me because it's on a great platform like PC, so you know those games are going to run amazingly, probably run better than what they do on consoles, if you have a good PC, that is, and most PC gamers do have excellent PCs, so you're going to get excellent gameplay, excellent visuals out of these versions of the games. Like you said, Sony's making money. People that play Xbox, generally they're PC gamers as well, so they'll have that option of playing Spider-Man, and fanboys get upset and they give us these entertaining posts of them being so mad over that shit. It's incredible. I love it.
Don't be fooled though. It's not always better over on PC because the PCs can't keep up with the HDR and the ray tracing like a console can. So even if you have a high-end PC, you're not going to be able to keep up with the gameplay resolution and FPS that like a PS5 can put out for the Spider-Man remastered. That's on PS5 currently.
Or an Xbox, Xbox Series X.
Yeah, same difference. Like, obviously these games aren't on a Series X, but in comparison, if you look at and I can't remember the name of that company, they always break down stats on consoles and stuff. They do comparisons when games release on PC versus when they were on the PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4. It's funny to see the comparisons, how the FPS drops and the HDR. Like Windows has a problem processing HDR in general. It just can't do it right. They're working on it. They're trying to fix it. And then the FPS just doesn't get as high. So there are some fallbacks. They're not ridiculously bad, but there is a difference.
Well, when they do fix it, I'm sure it'll look even better than what you would get on PlayStation. And these are big games, man. Huge games. They got it. They don't make these Windows machines to cater to plain Spider-Man games. They make these processors and they make fucking movies on these machines. Gaming is a small fish in the grand scheme of things. I don't know how else to spin that, Bobby.
Yeah, that's how it is these days. Like PCs have always been powerful, but the consoles are starting to catch up and do more. So that's the danger. The machines are taking over.
Well, we might not have consoles for too much longer, and that's okay with me because Microsoft is bringing the best value in gaming, in my opinion, today, the Xbox Game Pass, to Samsung 2022 smart TVs. And this is something that Michael Pachter revealed or leaked or talked about a few months back on Pachter Factor, how he had spoken to Phil Spencer, I believe, about how they wanted to roll this out to televisions and to products. So you don't need the console, you just need the controller. But at that time, he had said that they were a ways away. That time is now, Bobby. You fucking showed me at the shop of, look, I'm playing it on my phone. And now on TVs, Microsoft's gaming CEO Phil Spencer says, quote, "We're building a platform that can reach billions of players, whether it's on console, whether it's on PC, whether it's through Xbox cloud streaming, where players on any device they want to play on should be able to find the content they want to play," end quote. So starting on June 30th, access to the Xbox app from the Samsung Gaming Hub or Media Hub. All you have to do is log into your existing Microsoft account and connect your favorite Bluetooth controller, and you will essentially have your very own Xbox console. Not even need a console. You can access Xbox games from your television. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, and not to be confused or dismissed, it's not free. So for those of you listening out there that don't have access to a console, this is amazing news. Just be aware that you need to be able to pay for Game Pass. And if you want to access the streaming, it's Game Pass Ultimate. So it'll be the $20 tier, which is more than worthy of the price. Like the amount of gaming that you get at your fingertips for $20 is insane. So
$20 a month, right?
$20 a month, totally worth it.
And
so
how much is a console?
A console, if you're looking for a console, is $500 for
there
the Series X or a PS5 if you're to go competitive. And if you get the discless one, then it's $299. Big value.
Huge value. That's over a year of gaming. All you need is the controller itself, which the Xbox controllers, I don't know if, they're comfortable as fuck, man. Like, they're right up there with GameCube. GameCube is one of the most comfortable controllers I've ever held. And the Xbox One, the Switch Pro is probably the next similar thing to the Xbox current controller, and it is very nice. They do build a very nice controller, and ever since last generation, I think Xbox has probably had the best controller on the market.
Yeah, I agree. And the PS5 controllers comes in a very nice second. I don't know how they did it, but they were able to get past that DualShock design that just was weird and clunky. Like the PS5 DualSense is much nicer to hold on to. So it's heavier. That's the only problem. It's a heavier controller.
Is that Bluetooth or no? The PlayStation's?
It is. It's Bluetooth.
So you can use that on your PC?
You could. The problem is like it doesn't recognize. You have to play some tricks with it. It does work though. Like it does work on a PC. Like you can use it for stuff, but it doesn't connect as easily as a Microsoft controller.
Right. So if you're going into this, you'd want to get, just for ease, the Microsoft controller, or if you already have a gaming controller that you game with, and just pick up Game Pass and jump right in.
Yeah, like if you have a Switch Pro controller, that'll work too. It's Bluetooth. So any Bluetooth controller will work, essentially.
It is pretty seamless because you were showing me Ninja Gaiden on your phone, and even if you don't have a controller handy, if you're at work or wherever, and you want to play some current gen or last gen gaming right on the go, you have like a little digital D-pad or buttons on there, and you can use those to start playing. So you don't even need a controller. And from what I was seeing, you were streaming that entire game, and I didn't see any latency. And I don't know if you were playing on network or on the Wi-Fi, but it was absolutely seamless. It was butter smooth on your phone, no less.
Yeah, it was network. It wasn't Wi-Fi, so that's on my phone network, which is not the greatest, and it was doing just fine. So not all games have on-screen controls though. Select games do, so you'll have to look out for that if you're trying to take advantage of that. And by the way, if you are paying for Game Pass Ultimate, you will get access to it on your PC and on your phone as well. So you're not regulated to just the smart TV. So you'll have different ways to play. And once you have that controller, you can use the controller and connect it to your phone and play games on your phone without using the touch controls on the phone. You can just use your controller.
So before we go into the Microsoft Bethesda conference announcements, which was basically the summer of games, the bulk of it, how do you feel that everything before that, all the different announcements from some of the other companies, like State of Play, how do you feel they did this year? And then once we go through Microsoft Bethesda, we'll round out how we feel about that announcement too. But how do you feel about State of Play and some of the other little announcements leading up to this conference?
So I'm glad we got some announcements and some info. It's not a lot out there, obviously. The effect on the world right now with the pandemic, the looming effects of distribution, production, and the chip shortage is still a thing. I was expecting not as much, and it looks like we didn't get much to begin with. Like the rest of this year is a desert. There's just not much releasing. Yeah, there's a few things coming out. There's a couple surprises that got announced, but nothing extravagant. And then, even before this last week started, we got delays pushed out right before all these conferences, which was good. They needed to get out in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than nothing. Let's put it that way. It could have been a lot worse. I mean, compared to the past 2 years where we've just been getting trailers and nothing at all has been releasing because just everything's being delayed. But at least we got a taste of some things. We got some new news. That's good. It's not terrible. I wasn't impressed by Sony's conference. It's just a couple things that, except for RE4, that was a good surprise. But that's not just Sony's property. So
Right.
it was a little weird that they got to unveil it and it's not exclusive to them, but whatever.
They probably paid for that announcement, yeah, to have that exclusive. And then, because if you notice, Capcom then a few days later, like a week later, released the gameplay footage, which was really neat.
Yeah, so they just gave it to Sony first to get first dibs at it probably. And of course they paid for it.
Well, this is this year's coverage of the Bethesda conference. We had a number of announcements, and this list was billed by yourself, Maceo, and I. So the first one here is Forza Motorsport, which is coming spring 2023. It has been built from the ground up to showcase the Xbox Series X and S consoles. So this is one that is not going to be released on the last gen systems, and they have built it specifically using what the current console is capable of.
Yeah, it looks good. Forza Horizon 5 did really well. Still a very great game. I still play it occasionally. Forza Motorsport is a different type of racing game that they do. This is more on the racing side, not the have fun side, freestyle type stuff. So it looks gorgeous. It'll be cool. It'll be on Game Pass. I'll try it out. Basic racing games I only play for a little while, and it's one of those things where like I'm not in the mood to play anything else. I'm just gonna race cars for a little bit. But yeah, it looks like a cool game. We'll see what happens.
They are considered, the Forza games, some of the best in racing for gaming. I know they're followed closely by Gran Turismo, but every time I hear Forza, everyone knows Forza. Everyone talks about the amazing visuals in those games, how it looks like almost real life, and it sounds like Motorsport is going to be no exception to that, especially with consoles as powerful as the ones that we have today. This next game was something that I still read as Seinfeld every fucking time I get a headline. I'm like, Seinfeld? The game? Great. When is... Oh, no. But this is probably, I think, the one announcement that I was most excited for as far as like everything that they showed for it. Starfield gameplay does look like a mix of Fallout 4 and No Man's Sky. So they did unveil this footage from the game director, Todd Howard. He took fans on a tour of how you can build a ship, the customization to your character, going to a planet and harvesting the minerals, the materials, and going through some battles that are in space, almost like Star Trek. And there's all kinds of supposed freedom that you get in the game. Now, they did say you can't visit the thousands of planets that are visible in the game, but that's how big this game is. It's probably one of the bigger space games or sci-fi games up to this point.
Because whatever lies at the end of this road will change humanity forever.
This is the one that everybody was waiting for info and gameplay and just anything Starfield, because it's been almost a year since we've seen anything. We saw it during the Game Awards late last year. They showed just that trailer, but this is the first time we've seen gameplay. So a lot of people looking forward to it, because now that we've seen what it looks like, it's Fallout 4 in space is essentially what it is. So a lot of people are excited for it, especially all the Fallout 4 fans or any Fallout fan in general. I think the most important bit out of this all was it confirms what we all thought, and it's an Xbox exclusive. Everybody was like, no, they're not going to do that, though. They can't put the biggest game ever and not share it with Sony. Yeah, they can. They absolutely can. And they will. And they did. So this is going to come to Xbox, and Xbox bought Bethesda for a reason. And this is going to be the first fruits of labor from that purchase.
Right. They are calling this a console launch exclusive. You will be able to play it on your Windows PC. And like you said, on Game Pass as well. PC Game Pass on top of that, and Xbox Cloud Gaming. So I think the days of, at least on the Xbox or on Microsoft machines, if you're playing on your Samsung TV using the Xbox app, the days of paying $60, $70 for a disc or for the biggest games that at least release on Xbox systems, those days are over. It's a no-brainer to pay the $20 because at least every month you're going to get a decent release, plus the whole backlog of games that you can play on Game Pass, and this one is also showing up on there.
It destroys the history of gaming, and there's a lot of issues and arguments to be had with the digital takeover. I get it. The ease of use and not having to go to a store and buy it and spend $60, save up for it. Those are gone, like you said. Now it's worrying about the $60 that you got to pay for your gas tank every week. So
what was your favorite part of the gameplay footage that we got out of there? Because we did get both the first-person shooter action, the exploration, and then we also got the Starship stuff and the customization.
For me, the most interesting part is the freedom that you'll have to just go anywhere. Like they teased into it about a solar system that you'd be able to go to, and then of course they panned out and said multiple solar systems, and then he's like, yeah, you can visit 1,000 different planets. The problem with that is, is this going to be what No Man's Sky was? No Man's Sky said that, and it was not that, and it was bad. Now, to Hello Games' credit, within 2 years, they 100%, actually 200% fixed that game. No Man's Sky is a fantastic game. Now, they over-delivered. They went back and just fixed everything. They made it what it was supposed to be before it launched, and some, and all the free content that's in there. And what's funny is that game was developed by Sony Studios, and guess what? It's on Game Pass. So the fact that they used Sony's money to create that game, and then Xbox just came along and polished it off and made it superior, just shows a lot right there.
I really liked the feeling of almost Star Trek, of being in the ship, going through space battles, and sure, we're not going to get, let's negotiate with the other ship and use our brains to solve this conflict like in the Next Generation. That would be amazing, and I would leave that for a Star Trek game. But I got that feeling when I saw that. When you had your crew, you get to pick your own fucking crew for your starship. That's giving me almost Mass Effect customization vibes, because in Mass Effect you get to go and you get the crew that are pre-assigned for you based on the story. But in this case, you go out and you find the whatever crew you want and you put them into your ship, and that is amazing to me as like a Star Trek star captain. That shit is amazing.
There are factions, that's been confirmed. There will be factions in the game. Obviously there'll be desolate planets, there'll be planets that have things to do and things to yield, as well as important things to do. So I think they're going to really mix it up with the generator that they use for the planets that you visit. So hopefully that all works correctly. The other thing I saw or heard today regarding this game, because Microsoft did a follow-up on a lot of their announcements 2 days later on the Tuesday, and they clarified and said that the character that you're playing, will not have a voice. So there will be no voice acting for your character. And apparently that's what everybody wanted. They didn't want your character to sit there and talk through everything. It's more of, read the text, answer the questions, and move on. Let the game do all the voice acting, not the character that you're playing. So
more like you are that character, kind of like in Dead Space or Zelda.
Yeah, but you don't. Yeah, correct. But it doesn't. There's no voice acting for your choices when it plays out. It does it, or you reads things on the screen, and then the only voice acting you're getting is from everybody else in the game, all the other characters. Yeah,
that's how the first Dead Space was, and obviously what we got out of the Zelda games. So with this being a console exclusive, and people were speculating that it would be on everything, so a game this expensive would need multiple sales, and in this case, no, it is exclusive to Microsoft machines. What do you think this means for some of the other companies they own, like Call of Duty? And I think they've said in the past that they are going to let Call of Duty be on multiple platforms. But does this maybe mean, if Starfield does as well as we think it will, that they'll go, well, why do we have to release it on PlayStation consoles? Why don't we just release it on Game Pass and PC Game Pass? Do you think that's what's going to happen here in the future, or will they kind of take it based on what the property is?
Yeah, 100%. Money's money. And if they can prove that pulling an exclusive rights on a giant game, AAA title, works, then yeah, they're going to keep doing it. There's no reason for them to share their properties. Like Call of Duty, they don't own it yet, but if they do, and when they do, yeah, they said that they would share it, and sure they are. They're going to share their crappy free-for-all that they have, whatever that's called, the Fortnite version of that game. That they just keep updating throughout the year with each release that comes out. So that will be shared. Battle Royale, that's what I'm trying to say. So that will be shared on all platforms. That's not going away because that's on mobile, that's on all the consoles. And every time they release like Xbox, let's say Microsoft ends up getting the ownership a year and a half from now or whatever, they're not going to release their yearly titles on the other platforms. What they'll do is they'll constantly update the Battle Royale like they committed because everybody has access to that they don't have to pull away. Whereas the yearly title, it's just a new entry and they're not pulling it away. Essentially, it's just, okay, you want to play this campaign, then you need to play it on Xbox. If you just want to play Call of Duty, the competitive style, then yeah, it's right here. It's on your Sony, it's on your phone, it's on your Switch, it's on all your PC, it's all there. It's still there, we're not taking it away. So I think that's the big difference that nobody's remembering is that the Battle Royale is what they're not going to take away. They'll keep that for everybody. It's the yearly titles entries that are going to stay with Microsoft.
Gotcha. Very exciting. Very exciting next couple of years for Xbox gamers for sure. And another one that we did get gameplay for is Redfall. And this was one that we got gameplay for the first time.
Rumor has it something's off at the church. There's blood in the baptismal font, and pastor's gone missing. And my genius plan was to investigate it. Alone.
This is a brand new co-op first-person shooter from the award-winning team at Arcane Austin. So it brings you an open world, and there's some mystery in there. There's a diverse roster of heroes. There's strategic combat, and there's also a bunch of weapons, but at the core of it, you fucking kill vampires. That's what you do. And it's another console launch exclusive on Xbox, and it will also release on PC. So this one also looked to be very anticipated. One that showed off gameplay that I think it looks very early still, in my opinion. I'm not going to make some false hype for this one. I honestly thought it could look like it could still use some more work.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was some rough footage they showed. We got the trailer for this last year during the Game Awards. That's when it got announced pretty much. It was supposed to be out later this year, just like Starfield was. So that Redfall and Starfield both delayed till next year. This game's not for me. I just don't give a crap. We had Back 4 Blood. That game bombed, didn't do well. And that's all this game is to me. It's another Arcane saying it's not. Bethesda Arcane saying, no, it's not. We're not showing you, but there's a lot going on that we haven't shown you yet. I just don't care. I'm over these type of couch co-op 4-person play against zombies in this setting, vampires. Yeah, it looks cool. Some of those abilities look neat, but it's not for me.
Well, there you go. If you do want a co-op game, then definitely look into Redfall. It got delayed till next year, you said?
Yeah, Redfall and Starfield both got delayed 2 weeks ago. They said first half of 2023 is what they said.
All right, so still some time for some polish on this one, and hopefully Redfall ends up being good. It's definitely, I'm on your side though right now. It's not a game for me. I'd be more willing to pick up something like Starfield over Redfall. But there are some multiple third-party games that are coming to Game Pass, like Hollow Knight Silk Song, High on Life, which are the creators of Morty and Rick, and Plague Tale. This was also the big announcement, and you talked a little bit about it on Discord. Riot Games is bringing its titles to Microsoft Game Pass. Coming this winter, all Microsoft Game Pass members will receive bonuses across titles like League of Legends on PC, League of Legends Wild Rift on mobile, League of Legends Runeterra on PC and mobile, Teamfight Tactics on PC and mobile, and Valorant on PC. So that I wasn't expecting. This was a pretty big surprise, and I think another big get for Game Pass.
Home sweet home.
When I saw that, my jaw dropped. That was my announcement for this entire past 2 weeks. That was the one. That announcement right there. And I'm not a big League player or Valorant player, but I know a lot of people that are. And there's a huge competitive scene around it. Like, Those games are some heavyweights. Granted, 10 cents behind a lot of stuff, and that's the other thing that kind of gets me irritated is now Microsoft's involved with Tencent. I don't like that. And to be clear, even though these titles are like League is on PC, well, these are all coming to Xbox. So all these titles are going to be on your Xbox platform. So you will play them via your Xbox Game Pass to access them. So yeah, Wild Rift is a mobile game. Well, guess what? Now it's a Microsoft console game. I think this is really cool. And the benefits are all agents are unlocked immediately. So in League of Legends, there's like 240 different characters that are in that game. Guess what? You get them all unlocked day one. You don't have to buy them or grind out shards to pay for them. And the same with like Valorant. Valorant, you have to play progressively in the game or straight up buy the characters. They're all the agents are going to be unlocked day one. That's ridiculous. So some of these players that play these games are just going to start playing on Game Pass so they can immediately get everything unlocked. It's crazy. Infinite value right there.
And this also gets a bunch of console gamers to try out games that they probably wouldn't have played otherwise. I know I've definitely heard of League of Legends and all of these titles, but I thought they were PC only or mobile only, and it's not something that I do a ton of gaming on. But if I saw this on my console or on my Samsung app, I'd be more willing to be like, all right, let me try these games that were previously, I thought, mobile or PC exclusive, and maybe they are, and now I can play them alongside my other Game Pass or console titles. So I think it is actually going to bring up the player base quite a bit, even if it's for a short period. If they gain, millions of other players in the long run, that's going to be very good for Riot Games.
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit to this is now these existing players, won't have to use the launcher. So they won't have to use the Riot launcher anymore, which I think is a big get in general because you just instantly load it through Game Pass. So there are some benefits there. Whether or not existing players want to transfer over, that's a totally different story. I don't know. Just some context for everybody. League of Legends is a MOBA. Then you got Wild Rift is a mobile game of that. And you got Runeterra, which is a card-based game. It's very similar to Hearthstone. And you got Teamfight Tactics, which is also that's more of a strategy type. It's a strategy type tower defense type game.
Oh, nice.
It's not a full tower defense, but it's got that ability in it, kind of. And then Valorant is a first-person shooter, team-based, with different characters that have different abilities. So very similar to what Overwatch is, just a little better. I'd say that Valorant's a little better than Overwatch in some ways. So some fans out there, don't get on me. There's pluses and minuses to each one of them. So I think the biggest thing you mentioned there was Hollow Knight Silksong. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have been waiting for that announcement. I think the most surprising part is it came through the Microsoft presser and not a Nintendo presser.
Right.
So I think that's the most interesting fact of that whole thing. A giant game, not a giant game, but a very, very heavily fan-followed game that we finally got info on, and it was through the Xbox presser. That was insane. So there was a lot of talk around that.
And the first one you had mentioned, League of Legends, that's the one that you have an army and you move it around and you attack another army?
Yeah, it's a Team Fortress type thing where you got two different sides and you got three lanes. You got middle, top, and bottom, and you're essentially attacking each other and trying to. You always start at level 1, and as you progress through that match, you level up, gain more abilities, and get stronger. And you play as one character, and you just go through and you're trying to destroy the other team's base and capture it. It's essentially what it is.
Gotcha. And you said the category is tactics, right?
For League of Legends, no,
Yeah.
it's a MOBA.
MOBAs in your mouth.
Yeah, I know that's what you're setting up. I'll let you have it.
I wasn't quick enough the first time you said it. I was like, oh, wait.
I know. That's why you made me say it a second time. That's fine. Enjoy it.
Oh, man. And there was another game that was like that you said it was basketball. I forgot what game that was. A Pokemon game, I think. Yeah. That was the Pokemon League of Legends type of game.
I don't know why I can't remember the name of it. Pokemon Unite. There you go.
Gotcha. All right. Cool. That's what I was thinking of too, because when I saw Pokemon Unite, it reminded me of League of Legends. So they play, I guess, somewhat similar.
Yeah, they're the same concept for the most part. Yeah.
And you had a prediction about Team Ninja, didn't you?
Yeah. Didn't get exactly what I thought, but similar.
So what was your prediction?
So I was hoping that we would get a new Ninja Gaiden, not a remake, not a remaster, but just a new game. On all this fancy new software and all this new stuff that we have, maybe on Unreal 5, who knows? We didn't. Instead, they collaborated and we're getting a new IP, just a new game from Team Ninja, but it's not a Ninja Gaiden, unfortunately.
So with them collaborating with Xbox, is this going to be another console exclusive, you think?
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think Microsoft already owns Team Ninja. They bought them years ago. They've had them for a long time. So
Yeah,
it's possible that it'll be theirs. I don't know. Who
right.
knows?
Okay. And do we know if it's going to be something like Ninja Gaiden as far as gameplay? Do we know anything about it?
I know they announced it, but I can't remember what it was. It is a Ninja type game, but it's not Ninja Gaiden.
Okay.
I'll have to look that up. Can't remember what it's called.
So new IP is never a bad thing. We can come around back to it, but we do also have All Hell Breaks Loose in Diablo 4, which is coming in 2023. Diablo 4 will launch next year and available on PC, on Xbox One X and S, Series X and S. It is also going to feature crossplay and cross progression for all platforms. So that's awesome in case you and your friends play on different systems. You can play together for Diablo 4. And that's always a game that ends up doing incredibly well every time they release them. Diablo's been around for fucking decades and it's still going, and they're only on the 4th game, but they release so many expansions, so much DLC, and the player base is always there to support it.
Yeah, like Diablo 3, I don't play it that often, but sometimes there'll be a friend that, just popped it back on and is playing, and I'm like, hey, let's meet up tonight. I'll play with you. It's one of those games that they're endless. It doesn't end. You just keep playing over and over and over again, and things just keep getting harder, and you just keep getting stronger. It's so repetitive, but the cool thing about Diablo 3 is every time you go into a map, it's a random map generator, so it's never the same. So you may be playing the area, the same area, but the map layout and how it is always different because it uses a map generator every time. So it's one of those games that is grindy in circles, but it's fun to play with other people. The Blizzard problems aside, it looks very good. They also said it's open world. That's shocking too.
Nice.
So that'll be a very interesting game to play. I'd play it, and we'll see. They said it's coming to Xbox. Hopefully that deal's done at some point because I'm not going to buy it. So they put it on Xbox Game Pass. I'll definitely try it out.
Microsoft also announced a partnership. This also got the fanboys very upset.
Oh yeah.
There was a petition that launched weeks before even this official announcement because the rumors were already out there. This is another one that leaked, just like the Resident Evil 4 remake, and PlayStation fans were petitioning to get this canceled. It's not getting canceled. There's a partnership between Xbox Game Studios and Kojima Productions to create a video game for Xbox like no one has ever experienced, and it's going to leverage the power of the cloud. Kojima being one of the, if not the most visionary game director currently alive. He has done amazing stuff like the Metal Gear franchise. He's a fan of the Snyder Cut. He's a movie aficionado. He's constantly tweeting about some of the movies that he watches, and he seems to see it all. No matter how good or terrible it looks, he will watch it. He will review it. This guy knows movies and games like no other. You can't find someone like Kojima, and now Microsoft is teaming up with him.
Yeah, hopefully it's just not Death Stranding Part 2.
Hey man, it's like Matt was saying last week, just like Matt said last week of even Michael Jordan had his bad games, right?
I mean, Death Stranding is not a bad game. It was just not what we thought it was going to be. All that hype, years and years of hype. And it's just you walking across a desert, barren wasteland. That's all you do is you walk. You just have to walk. Not what we were expecting at all. And the story is kind of so weird, man. Guillermo, I guess that's just Guillermo's style. Guillermo del Toro just has this weird twisted style he put in that game. Yeah, it's interesting. I'll have to let you borrow that.
Maybe it's more Guillermo rather than Kojima.
I think it is. I think it's Kojima's design and his story, but I think Guillermo did the rest. And obviously Guillermo's in it. He put himself in the game too. So
of course he did.
He's a character in there, and you can tell like the weird story bits are definitely Guillermo. You can tell.
So why do you think people got so up in arms about this? Because I heard the fanboys were saying, no, cancel this partnership. And others were saying, well, it's probably going to suck anyway because of Death Stranding, so let them have it. So why were they up in arms about it?
Because Kojima has been exclusive, or I shouldn't say been exclusive. He exclusively has worked with Sony for a very long time. And before that, it was Nintendo, obviously, with the original Metal Gear games. So everybody thinks that he's only supposed to work on Sony games at this point, and they're probably too dumb to realize that he originally worked on Nintendo games prior to that. So whatever, get over it. When Sony PlayStation 1 came out, he started working with Sony. Before that, he's with Nintendo, and now that we're propelling forward, he's working on a project with Microsoft. Plus, Kojima's not partnered with Konami anymore. He was. He broke away from Konami, a year or two ago? So
yeah, blame Konami rather than Microsoft.
Yeah, if anybody needs to be blamed, it's Konami. And I think that's the other part of this that nobody's realizing, that he is not contracted through Konami anymore. He is broken off on his own. He already had his own brand. So now he can just go and do what he wants to the highest bidder. Microsoft's willing to pay because Microsoft's desperately trying to get stuff out of the East, whether they own it or not. This is one of those partnerships. One of the other partnerships is the partnership with Atlas, which I know Scott's extremely happy about, because now more people are going to be able to play those Persona games, because we're getting Persona 3, I forgot the title of that one, Persona 3 something, Persona 4 Golden, and then Persona 5 Royale. So all the best versions of those games. And that's another partnership with an Eastern studio. So Microsoft's doing what they can. They can't buy anything right now. Like, I know they would love to buy Sega or Capcom or any of those studios over there, or even Square Enix.
Right.
But they can't do anything until the Bethesda Activision deal is finished or declined, because then they run into antitrust issues. So they just have to keep quiet, and they're allowed to form partnerships with, like, Kojima, for example, and Atlas. But yeah, I think that's just Sony fanboys getting mad and realizing that he is allowed to do that. So
a lot of momentum for Xbox gamers, that's for sure. We did cover a bunch of great new IPs. People are constantly asking, we need new stuff to play, new games. Well, aside from the whole indie market, we're getting what look to be some AAA titles heading our way next year, and some good partnerships like Kojima, like Riot Games. So a lot of great stuff happening for not just Xbox gamers, but for television owners, as we covered that you're going to get the Xbox app on your Samsung 2022 televisions. Very exciting times. Was there anything, I know you helped build this list along with Maceo, but was there anything else that came out over the last couple of days that you wanted to cover before we go into what we felt about the announcements overall?
Yeah, as of our recording today, TMNT Shredder's Revenge is out, and it's on Game Pass, so go play it. It's very reminiscent. It's literally a copy clone of TMNT Turtles in Time, so that blast from the past. So if you enjoyed that game, please go play this one, because it's literally the same style. Endless fun right there.
And if you're a physical collector like me, the actual disc version will not come out until, I believe, the end of August. And that's a ways away, but you can play it now digitally if you can't wait. I saw some people on Instagram. I couldn't wait for the physical release because they're getting like the collector's edition with the pizza box and all that shit. And they're getting that too, but they're like, I can't wait to play it though. So they'll boot up their Game Pass or they'll buy it digitally as well. And I think it's $40 and you can start playing it right now. So if you're not a physical collector, I know Scott is moving away from physical collecting on his consoles. You can start playing this new TMNT game. I'm going to have a little bit more patience and wait for the disc version. I'm going to play that with Leo. He's old enough to play a beat-em-up game. They're not really that complex. And he can choose Leonardo, and I'll choose Donatello, and we're going to go through and have some TMNT fun. There's the collection. I forgot what it's called, but it's like all of the different arcade versions and some fighting games for TMNT. The Cowabunga collection is also releasing in the next couple of months. So whichever one comes out first, I'm going to be playing that with Leo, and I think he's going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. He's getting to that age where I think you're going to enjoy playing those easy button mashers, and especially if it's with IPs that he likes. Like, he likes the Turtles, right? So that's perfect. And, he could pick his namesake every time and just have a blast. So that's really cool.
So we talked about State of Play and how it was a little lackluster. How do you think they did this year with the Microsoft Bethesda conference? We didn't get an E3. This was a part of the Summer of Games, right? The whole event. So how do you think that this did based on where we are this year with no E3?
So overall, lots of info, lots of partnerships, lots of things that they showed us, all companies involved. As far as the heavy hitters, I don't think there's anything. Microsoft really tried really hard to make it look like they're releasing a lot of things because they're focused on 12 games in the next 12 months coming to Xbox Game Pass. I mean, that's great, but the games that everybody wants, we're not getting. Like, They delayed Starfall, they delayed Starfield, they delayed Redfall.
They should cross over Starfall,
Right.
Redfield.
Square Enix, a month ago, delayed that one game that they're releasing that I'm interested in. I know Scott's interested in it too. I just can't remember the name of it. So that game got delayed. I mean, it's just the nature of things anymore. So nobody's really getting mad anymore. It's just, you know what? If you're going to delay it, just delay and get it right. Because at this point, I think every single company is scared of what happened with
Cyberpunk, yeah.
So nobody wants to be the next company to do that, because that was a disaster. And now that the game is actually fixed, nobody really freaking cares.
Right.
And that's the problem. You don't want that. So I think everyone has learned a serious lesson, especially in this pandemic area where things have been extremely difficult from a building standpoint, working standpoint, testing standpoint, and even getting hands on materials. Like, it's just a mess. So it sucks, but you can't take it too much against them, because they're only doing with what the hand they have dealt. And, on top of that, consoles are still hard to find. So a lot of players can't get their hands on consoles anyway. So in the end, does it really matter? There's so much content out there that we can play anyways. Who out there isn't sitting on a backlog? Because I know I am. So if anything, this has given me a lot of time to start working on that backlog, which I have. I am working on the backlog. So that's good. Because now when these games do start coming out and they're not on Game Pass or whatever, I'll be able to start making a new log, or actually get caught up on games, which would be fantastic for once.
And if you don't have a backlog, you sign on for Microsoft's Game Pass and you will have a fucking backlog.
Yeah, it's a massive backlog. And Sony's about to inherit one too when they start their live service. Was it next week? I think their service goes live. If anybody's signed up for that, at least for the tier 3, you're going to have a whole bunch of games there that you can add to a quote unquote backlog. I will say one thing that was missing from all this was God of War. God of War wasn't shown or talked about at all. So that one, we still don't know. They said it was going to come out this year. We still don't have any info on it. So we'll see. We'll see when they delay it or actually release it. Because if they do release it, that'll probably be the biggest release of the year if they actually release it this year. Because nothing else is releasing really when it comes to high caliber games.
Well, we're going into July here pretty soon. I don't think we're going to get God of War this year. I think we would have gotten a lot more information out of it by this point.
They didn't show it at their state of play. So there's a very good reason why. I think they're going to do their own state of play and focus on it and go all out on it.
So you think we might get it this year then?
That's what they said last year, and they've been mum on it. And the voice actor had said he's done with everything. So it just depends on how much polish they're putting on that game. Who knows? Maybe they are going to delay and they're just waiting.
Well, I think it is, like you said, it is a matter of the state of the world we're in. And I think given that we didn't get an E3, we didn't get a physical presence of these presentations, we didn't get a live stream from E3 or anything like that, I think they did a decent job on showcasing and maximizing some of these announcements, and enough to where I was able to catch up on a lot of the gameplay. I saw a bunch of trailers and a bunch of tweets about these games during the week that these were all announced. And I think that's really the way we're going to be seeing a lot of these announcements, at least for the next couple of years. And I know they claim they're going to have a physical E3 next year. And I think the last time you were on, you were talking about how E3 is dead in spite of what they're saying. Do you still sit on that based on this announcement and how things went this year?
Yeah, they're done. ESA couldn't handle what they could before. There's no way that in the world they're going to be able to handle coming back after almost a 3-year hiatus, especially after this year not hosting anything at all. I think Keighley has a grip on it and the studios trust him. And what we might get is Keighley still running Games Fest or whatever he wants to call it. And the ESA tries to run an E3 again. And you have a competition between two types of businesses advertising and who's going to have exclusive rights to different trailers and reveals. That's what it's going to come down to. Will the ESA be able to do it? Probably not. I think everybody's lost trust in them. They will attempt. I'm pretty sure they're going to attempt to make a comeback next year. I just don't think it'll go like how we've always loved and wanted to watch an E3.
Well, there you go. Started off today's episode with a bit of pop culture, and we had our yearly non-E3 gaming episode, the Keighley 3, the Key 3.
Hey, this is Brock from Pokemon and James from Pokemon, and you're listening to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, which is one of my favorites. Why? Because so many girls listen to it, which is unlike me, because no girls listen to me. I don't know what you mean. All the girls listen to me, especially Jessie, though she still has yet to help me capture Pikachu.
Let's end things with the Bro Kept Block, which is the more personal side of the podcast, what Bobby and I have been doing since you last heard us. So before we talk about what I caught over the last week, how have you been, Bobby? How have you been since the Brocat Core last heard you?
I've been good. Been keeping busy. Been working away on keeping up on my collection. My read pile was getting pretty big, so I've been trimming that down. The current Spider-Man is actually really good. I was worried that they were restarting to another #1 literally right before issue 800.
Mm-hmm.
The story so far is really, really good. So I'm very interested to see where they take that story.
Good.
Other than that, I've been catching up on the gaming backlog. I finished 2 different Ubisoft games. I finished the second Wildlands game, Breakpoint. I finished that. And then I finished Division 2. And I just 100%ed Lego City Undercover. So that's
a huge game.
Yeah, that game is, wow, let me tell you. For a game that as old as that is, that's very, very well designed Lego game. I was very impressed with the layout of that. So it's GTA Lego.
Right.
And they made it so long ago. I couldn't believe how good that game was. And then the other one I just started a couple days ago was Lego Ninjago the movie. That game sucks. It's absolutely terrible.
That's too bad.
Wait.
Have you seen
I
the
can't
movie,
wait
though?
to finish it. No, I have not.
Oh, the movie's fucking good, man. It's my second favorite Lego movie, right behind Lego Batman.
That's what I heard. That's what our coworker Max told me. Apparently the game is absolute trash compared to the movie. They didn't even try to replicate the movie from the game. So.
I almost bought the comic that came out recently because it focuses on the quote-unquote villain, but the whole movie is just him being a shitty dad to the main character, the main character being like, you left me a long time ago, me and mom. And he's like, I don't even know who you are, kid. And he's just a dick to him the entire time.
Yeah.
It's really fucking funny.
Yeah, that's come up a few times. Other than that, work's been it's been extremely difficult this past week. I almost had to close the store.
How come?
Missing an employee at work. It sucked.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the weight of, I guess, that I'm bringing now, thankfully.
No, I'm just kidding. Everything's
Yeah.
been fine. I am getting ready to, after we record this, I got to do some packing. I'm about to head off to Milwaukee for another Pokemon Regional. So I'll be staffing that event in Milwaukee. The bad part is I'll come back for a day and a half and then leave and turn around and go to Columbus for the North American International Championships. So I got back-to-back weeks of Pokemon, but the international one is a little longer because of it's a bigger event. So I just have to go earlier. There's a lot much more prep involved in those. So
Are we going to get some international merch this year that they're going to put up? Do you think they're going to do backpacks again, play mats?
not for the internationals. For Worlds, yes.
Oh, okay.
They will do it
Gotcha.
for Worlds. And that's, I guess, my last piece of news I found out last week. I've been invited to the World Championships in London, so I will be going to London in August.
Fucking congratulations, Bobby. Well done. And that is some strong work that is paying off because you're constantly going out of town for these different events to judge. To anyone not familiar with Pokemon TCG, Bobby is one of the judges on some of the biggest matches that you will get here in the US and overseas. You just came back from, well, it was London, right?
No, I was in Germany.
Germany, I'm sorry. You just came back from Germany and you were a judge there. And if you've ever seen the Pokemon TCG or VGC, for example, when they have the big matches, there's always the one or two guys in the middle and they're watching the players, making sure that everything's going okay. And Bobby's one of those guys. And literally you will see him and you can see him in streams and videos judging matches. And now he's going to Worlds, which is the biggest platform in Pokemon gaming. And Bobby will fucking be there. One of your hosts of this podcast is going to fucking be there. And you better give us the link or something because we're going to screenshot the shit out of this.
Yeah. I'll, when they put that stuff up. Also, the merch will be available there for, like I did in DC a couple of years ago. So the playmats, the backpacks, all that stuff. So Scott, you, and whoever else, start saving up your money. Just give me a list and I'll go shopping because staff gets first dibs at the store before the general public does. Excuse me.
That's exciting, man. Yeah, I still see some of the DC backpacks at the shop that some of the players have, and they're beautiful, man. They do a good job with them.
There'll be a Pokemon store in Columbus next week, but it's not going to have event branded merch. They'll just have stuff that's on Pokemon Center. So I have a feeling they're going to have those Pokeballs, the different types of ones you can get, like the Dream Ball, the Ultra Ball, the Master Ball, things like that. They're $100 a piece. So that'll be tempting, but I can't start collecting those. They're expensive and hard to get at this point.
Yeah, Bobby's a collector like I am, and like many of the Brokehead core out there, where once you get one, all right, now I got to get the whole fucking line.
But for those of you that want to watch any matches from this year, because I've been on a lot of them, it's twitch.tv/Pokemon TCG. You'll see me randomly pop up on some of those matches, especially in top 8 and whatnot. So I was in Secaucus. I was in Germany for the European International Championships. I was in Indianapolis. And this weekend I'll be in Milwaukee. And then the week after I'll be in Columbus for the North American International Championships.
Again, congratulations, Bobby. That's all very exciting. I will be, again, I'm going to be John Travolta GIF meme in the shop. Like, well, where's Bobby? Like, I'll be making I'll be making outdated references to all of the youngins. Because when you're gone, I'm the oldest guy on staff in the front. So I talk about Angel Fire or GeoCities, and no one else knows what the hell I'm talking about. That's why Scott's got to get hired on now, so that I can reference something and he understands it. That's his sole purpose.
He'll put some of our other coworkers to shame with his anime knowledge.
That's true too. That's very true. Scott is still, from the people that I'm interacting with so far, him and Millennial Mike are the two guys that I think know the most about manga or anime, the guys that I can probably come to with any question and they will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and 99% of the time you show them something that you've never even heard of or knew existed, and like, oh yeah, I've seen that. It's pretty good. Or, oh, I've seen that. It sucked.
Right. That's been out for years. I own them all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have the whole thing. It's one of the best ones I've ever read or seen or watched. I'm like, what?
It's because of them that I know what isekai means. So there you go. I'm by osmosis, I'm starting to slowly learn some of these weeb terms. Well, you mentioned that jokingly mentioned that the shop almost had to be closed down due to understaffing. I have been out of work, not sick days. So, and the state is no longer paying for COVID stay at homes, but I did catch COVID. So I lost a week's worth at least of a paycheck. That's why I was pushing hard on Patreon, on Twitter, and on Instagram, because I'm like, shit, man, I got to make up some of this money somehow, and still working on it. And I'm just taking it day by day and hoping that I can test negative or something soon so that I can go back to work. But yeah, I fucking finally caught COVID. Isn't that crazy? Now that I said COVID, by the way, this episode's going to be flagged on podcasting platforms with the fucking thing of like, for your health center, go to the nearest thing and don't believe any false stuff. It will not be shown in certain countries now. So I apologize if you're from that country and this episode doesn't download, but you won't be hearing this anyway now. I'm surprised it took me this long, because you and I work with the general public, retail. I worked in retail and food throughout all of this, and I surprisingly hadn't caught it. And I finally did. And I don't know where from still. I go to the gym, I go to work, and I guess that's kind of it. So it could have been someone I passed in the back, because, there's some small hallways, there's some smaller rooms. Could have been somewhere passing there. I guess it could have been a customer, although you do have the barriers set up, so I'd have to get really close to them to have caught something. Could have been from, I guess, an employee, or I guess at the gym too, but the gym is also pretty good about keeping all the machines separate. So I couldn't tell you where I got it from, but I fucking caught COVID, man. And it sucks.
Well,
and it doesn't suck. Yeah. I mean, I'm still alive. I don't have any pre-existing conditions, thankfully. So I'm very lucky in that aspect. And you can hear me. I'm not dying. At least I don't sound like I'm dying. I don't know. All I can tell anyone that hasn't caught it, because that's the one question I've gotten, is how bad is it? What are the symptoms? Is it as bad as they say? And all I can say is it's different for everyone, apparently, because I have heard from people that I know have caught COVID. And one of my friends, Clayton, he got hospitalized. He was out for 2 weeks. This was at the beginning of this whole thing. And he caught it from someone that died from it. So he had to go to the hospital, and he did not get a negative test until 2 weeks after he tested positive the first time. And then there's someone like me who I got some slight fevers, not heavy ones. I've had worse fevers. I did not get a runny nose. I did not get what other symptoms are there? I did get the body aches, which I got at the beginning. Felt like I was getting sick, like a cold. It really is like a cold, I guess, for me. I was coughing yesterday, the day before. Today, it's the best my cough has been. I haven't coughed this whole time. I haven't had to take ibuprofen, and sometimes I would get a headache or a migraine. So I guess I've been lucky about it, right? I haven't gotten terribly ill, and I did get Johnson & Johnson's vaccine. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but there you go. I fucking caught it. Maybe Jared caught it too before. I can't remember. I think one other host here caught COVID before, but from what I can remember, I'm at least the most recent that caught it.
To go with that, almost my whole family has it too. They got it a week ago. So, but everybody's fine now. So
good
for the most part. My mom still is going through some issues. She unfortunately has cancer, so we have to keep an eye on her. I guess the worst that is annoying her is that she lost her sense of taste. So she was already going through issues with the treatments that she was having. Everything was tasting metallic to her because of her treatments. So now with COVID, now she just can't taste anything. So she's just annoyed at it. But she's doing better. Her symptoms were much less because she's had, the initial routine and then plus booster.
Gotcha.
My sister and her husband did not get boosters yet. They just got their initial routine. Mm-hmm. The husband got it real bad, but we were able to get him on the meds, Provaxilin, to get going, and the doctor recommended that, so he bounced back pretty quick.
That's good.
And then my niece, she had it. She didn't get it. It was very mild for her, just lots of fevers, and she slept it off. So she's better. My sister got better too. So my mom's the only one lingering at the moment.
It sounds like everyone's over the hump then, which is good.
Yeah, I'm just worried about the mom because she, if there is such thing as long COVID, she obviously will catch it. She'll have it. Not catch it. She'll have those stuck with her. So hopefully not. We'll see.
You said your sister's husband had it really bad?
Yeah, he had it first and just got knocked off his ass.
Do you know if he had the Johnson & Johnson or the other one?
They both got Pfizer.
Oh, well, there you go. You got to get the Johnson. I have stock in Johnson & Johnson. Like my friend I was talking to Clayton via text, and he's like, "Did you get the boosters or anything?" I'm like, "I just got the one and done Johnson & Johnson." And he's like, "The one that was making people's blood clot." And I'm like, "Hey, those were very small trials, insignificant percentage." And he's like, "No, they covered that up quite a bit." I'm like, "Well, look, there's no evidence behind that." And he's like, "What have these corporations done to you?" And I'm like, "Well, I own stock in Johnson & Johnson." He's like, "Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense." That's the only reason I got that one too, by the way, because I own stock in them. And I was like, well, that was back when you had a choice between the two. You can get the two or you can get the one.
Yeah.
And this is when they were starting to take away the Johnson & Johnson ones. And I found a locally owned pharmacy. And I was like, yeah, they still have them. So I went there, got it done.
Yeah, I don't even think you can get that one anymore. They pulled it.
Right. Yeah, they did. I hope they still I don't even know if they recognize it anymore, but I have the card that says I'm good. So.
Yeah, if you have it, you have it. But I think you're supposed to get a booster by this point. The booster can be any of the others because what they do is they adjust your dosage based on it because it's a different type it's mRNA versus a different type. I forgot the term.
Well, I got my booster just now by catching it.
That's
right?
true. You did get you got natural immunity recovery is what it's called. If you if you visit a doctor, you can get an immunity recovery certificate. Counts as another stamp going forward. Yeah.
What do you get when you get more stamps? Is it like badges in Pokemon?
I guess, but it gives you a newer date because like your initial vaccine was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, you just made it sound fun. Like you got another stamp.
Yeah, right. I know. It's like a passport.
Yeah.
So,
it's like Epcot around the world.
You'll get a new date. So your new date will be now in June of 2022 instead of whatever of 2020. So
that's good to know. Might as well get something out of this, right? Aside from immunity.
Yeah. It's called official certificate of recovery. That's what it's called. I know that, unfortunately, because Pokemon checks for them because we do vaccination checks. So that's one of the accepted permissions would be recovery certificate. That's what it's called. Yeah.
So you can get that. You can basically herd immunity pass as opposed to like in place of a vaccine.
Yes. And it holds for, I think, 6 months is what it's dated for.
Okay.
Because they're using the CDC/WHO recommendations. And that is good for roughly 6 months because that's the amount of time that you have to get a booster anyways. So,
well, I was going to mention something else about this whole bit. I didn't lose my sense of taste. I did lose a bit of hearing, but that was just based on the cold and all the stuff in my head as far as like the pressure, the sinus pressure.
Yeah.
When you feel like you're getting sick. So I got some of that. But yeah, no, I didn't get any loss of smell or loss of taste. I guess that's a good thing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that would have been weird if I did. I would have been kind of freaking out a little bit.
Everybody's different. They all get different symptoms, like you said earlier. Plus, you were fortunate you didn't share it with the rest of your family. So there's a good news too.
Yeah, I don't know how that hasn't happened because Kelly hasn't caught it, Leo hasn't caught it, and it's not. I haven't been wearing my mask around them, but I also haven't been, holding Leo like normal or anything like that. I've been trying to be good about keeping my distance with him or not breathing on him, things like that. If that makes any sense, but neither of them have caught it. So we've been lucky there. And Kelly was never worried because she's like, we never get sick at the same time. So, or she'd be like, well, if I'm going to catch it, I would have caught it by now type of thing. We sleep in the same bed and all that. So if it was going to happen, it was going to happen with her.
Yep.
But very fortunate, like you said, and hopefully I can get back to work soon. And that's it. Just, I guess, fortunate that it didn't get complicated. That was my biggest news for the week. Just a lot of staying at home, going on Netflix, working out from home. I fixed my lawnmower and mowed the lawn while I was with COVID. So I was like some kind of COVID dad. I don't know. Like, it was weird. Oh, I did tweet this story. Did you see the thing about my dad and the tequila?
Yeah.
He was telling me about that where he's like, I think I caught COVID, to anyone that missed it. And I'm like, yeah, tell me. He was telling me about it. He's like, I think I caught COVID last year because I never get sick and that never happens. But when I do get sick, I shake it off within a day. He's like, I don't know why. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but this one I couldn't shake off. It was a few days and I couldn't shake it off. He's like, so I think it was COVID because it was a lot stronger than with my normal cold. And again, I never get sick. So finally, he's like, I got on the third day or so, I got symptoms of my eyes watering. First one eye and then the other eye started watering and it was going back and forth. And he's like, I got tired of it. So I told your mom to pour me a shot of tequila. And I'm like, okay. And your mother doesn't know what a shot of tequila is. So she put it in like a mini glass instead of like a little shot. And he was like, what? That's a lot of tequila. And he drank it all. And he said he was cured after that. He was fine. And I'm like, man, his generation was built different or something. They can just old school it away, like Mexican treatment away it, like fucking COVID. Just wash it down with tequila and piss it out or shit it out. It's done.
a pint glass of tequila.
Right. It was really weird. And Maceo was like, what tequila was it? I'm like, I don't know. Probably something cheap, whatever. Like, you know how that generation is, just whatever's on there, it's all the same. So that was my COVID story. Anything else before we close out today's episode, Bobby?
No, that's it. Lots of gaming news, and sorry Mace couldn't be here because I knew he had some good thoughts on some of this stuff. We had some good talks. We went to UFC last weekend.
Oh, good. You guys
so that was
caught
cool.
up?
Yeah, we caught up. I hadn't seen him in forever, so it was cool.
How were the fights?
But they were good. That last fight was insane. Went almost the full 5 rounds. It was back and forth, and just they were beating the crap out of each other. Either one of them could have won, and then the younger dude just tapped him out. So
nice.
It was a good fight. Joanna, that one girl, she retired. She lost and retired.
If she had won, she probably would have stayed on, right?
Maybe. Yeah, because I think she was in contention to get a belt back. So yeah, of course, she would have gone for a belt and then retired. But
that's the thing about UFC. When you lose and you're in contention, it's going to be at least 2 or 3 years before you work your way back up the ladder. And by then, she's an older fighter, at least for UFC.
Yeah, she said she had been, she's been doing it for 20 years. So she just wants to go away now.
Mm-hmm.
Too much on her body and stress. I think she just wants to focus on family now. Good for her. She's a great fighter. So
hopefully next time I have Maceo on, I can remember to ask him what he thought about Starfield and some of the other great offerings on PC and on Xbox. But there you have it. Our yearly E3 coverage. And Bobby, please let them know where they can find you. And again, thank you for being on for this gaming special.
Of course. You can find me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at QBANSLIM. That's Cuban Slim. Obviously on our Discord. So check out our Discord. Have a lot of fun on there. Lots of extra conversations. We share collections as well. So the link will be in the description. Daniel talks about it all the time. It's a good time. Hang out. We can talk. If you don't want the notifications, put us on mute. And when you do want to talk, you just pop in. It's fine. A lot of people do it. Everybody's got multiple Discord channels at this point. So totally understand. But it's a place to hang out. So it doesn't have the interaction like Twitter does, where you just put something out in space and hope somebody likes it, retweets it. Here you get conversations. So it's fun.
It's kind of like when Netflix recommends for more content, visit here. That's what our Discord is like. You will get a lot of background to what we talk about. You'll get extra, I guess, coverage or opinions on some of the news that might not make it to the weekly podcast and will be on Discord. Stuff that's a little bit quicker burning. That's like, okay, well, that didn't really leave a huge impact, but still we talk about it. We discuss it. Maybe we don't include it on the show because by then it'll be super old news. So you'll get a lot of that on Discord, which is really nice. And again, like you said, the description, the link is in the description of today's episode, along with where you can find Bobby. And if you want to be heard on the show, head on over to speakpipe.com/thereasonsimmbroke. You can leave us a voicemail, 90 seconds or less, if you want to be heard, whether it's a comment, a question. And that's again at speakpipe.com/thereasonsimmbroke. Link in today's episode. Thank you, Bobby, again for being on today's Key 3 special. And to you on the other side, thank you for joining us again, whether this was episode number 513 or your very first one of The Reasons I'm Broke. Thank you for making it this far into the show, and hopefully you find something of value to join us for episode 514 next week. Thank you again for joining us. I've been Daniel, joined by Bobby, and Brokehead Core, all will be well. So I know some of these trips for Pokemon judging can be, it's very business oriented. Like, okay, I'm there. I've got a job to do. But are you looking forward to anything in particular when you get to Worlds, as far as different decks you might see, some of the different people you might meet? Aside from the actual judging, are you going to have fun? Are you going to have time to have a little bit of fun at the actual event?
I went to Worlds in DC, obviously. I didn't get to sign up in time, but the big wigs are at Worlds.
Mr. Pokemon himself.
Yes. So he was in DC. He's always at every Worlds. He'll be at London, obviously. So I want to get into that queue to meet him. I'd like to meet him and get his autograph and talk to him. What is it? I forgot his name. Is it
Mr. Pokemon?
Nomura, right? Is that his name?
That's the guy from Kingdom of Hearts. Tetsuro Nomura.
Oh, yeah. Wrong game.
Same shit.
Scott's getting pissed right now. Listen to it. And Julian. They're both like, what the? I don't know why I can't remember his name. The CEO of Pokemon. He'll be there. And some of the creative team members will be there too. So that'll be cool to see them in person. Just the stage of it being Worlds is like, it's a privilege. All the players that go to it have to earn a spot. So as a staff member, you kind of have to earn your spot too. So I've been putting in my stripes, and I've been recognized over the past 2 years with the pandemic stuff, and I've done a lot for the community. It's cool. So I've done some really good work this past year. I've had been recognized for some things, and first of all, starting off the season with the invite to Germany was a huge shock. Worked a few more events and got my Worlds invite. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll see a lot of the same people I see at all the different events from around the world and in the US. It'll be fun. It's a humbling experience for sure. So it's the highest level of competition, and I've been selected to go be a part of it. So it's exciting and humbling at the same time.
Will Mr. Pokemon sign unofficial merch as well?
Yeah, they'll sign everything.
Okay,
I've seen him sign different things.
I'm going to send you with some Sonic Chew merchandise.
Oh, jeez.
I hope they don't explain what the background is, because I'm sure they won't know what it is. Just have them sign it. That's it. Just that dark bit of material.
Jesus.